So, we know all about notes and where they are on the fretboard. Individual notes are great. They can be used to create really beautiful melodies or tunes that get stuck in your head. But playing one note at a time isn't the only way to express emotion or feeling through music. Have you ever heard a person say, "Wow, that really struck a chord with me," after someone said something meaningful? They mean that whatever was said made them feel something. When we strike a chord in music, it helps us express emotion and feeling and makes the music more complete. So what are chords and how do we make them? Well, basically, a chord is when you put 3 or more notes together to form a new sound. You can make chords that sound happy, chords that sound sad, chords that sound interested, chords that sound mysterious, and many more. So to help us learn our first chords, you need to learn how to read a chord diagram. So this is the diagram for an E major chord. It's meant to look like the neck of the guitar held up vertically like this. The 6 vertical lines represent the 6 strings, and the horizontal lines represent the frets, with the top line representing the nut at the end of your neck. So the strings from top to bottom on your neck go from left to right across the diagram. Those circles across the top mean that you leave those strings open, and the big circles with numbers in them show you where to put your fingers. When we play guitar, each of our fingers on our fretting hand gets assigned a number. That's how we know which finger to use when reading a chord diagram. So we start on our pointer finger, which is 1, the middle finger is 2, the ring finger is 3, and your pinky is 4. Your thumb is usually on the back of the neck, so it doesn't typically get a number, but sometimes you'll see it labeled as T. So if we look back at the E major diagram, we can focus on those numbered circles. When placing our fingers for chords, we need to be sure to reach around and come right down on top of the string that we're looking for. It's really common when you're just getting started to come in at an angle like this, and that often leads to accidentally muting or touching other strings, like this. You want to hold down the strings with the tips of your fingers rather than the pads of your fingers. I like to start on the top string and work my way down when I'm working through a chord diagram. So first, the top E string is open. There's nothing there, we just play it open. And then we have our second finger, or middle finger, on the 2nd fret of the A string, like this. So let's go ahead, put that there. I'd like to note, holding down the strings can be pretty painful when you're first getting started. So you don't need to press really hard until all of your fingers are in position. Next, we'll place our 3rd finger, or our ring finger, on the 2nd fret of the D string, right here. And lastly, our 1st finger, or pointer finger, goes on the 1st fret of the G string, right here. Once all your fingers are in place, you can press down nice and firm and give it a strum. Nice. Now, if this is your first time ever playing a chord on the guitar, it might not have sounded quite like mine, and that's okay. Let's talk a little bit about why that might be. Getting started playing chords can be really challenging. When you first start out, your finger and hand muscles probably won't be used to contorting in these unique ways. Additionally, pressing the strings can be really painful. You're basically pushing your fingers down as hard as you can on metal wires. That's bound to hurt. But don't worry, as you keep playing and keep practicing, your fingers will form calluses. These are places where the skin toughens and hardens and it won't hurt anymore. You're also likely to encounter some soreness in your wrist, your hand, and even in your arm. That's totally normal as well. Just like any muscles, your hand and your wrist need practice and strengthening to be able to play well. To help with that, you can try stretching your hand like this. If you stretch down like this, it can help stretch your 3rd and 4th fingers, while stretching up typically helps out your 1st and 2nd fingers. You can roll your wrist like this, and even stretch your whole arm, since all of this is connected. Don't worry though, through practice you'll develop calluses, strengthen your hand, and increase your dexterity. Let's try that E major chord again. If your chord doesn't sound quite right, let's practice some troubleshooting. First, make sure your fingers are in the right position. You may just be playing a wrong note. If you're having trouble, go back and double check earlier in the video. Second, play each string one at a time. As you go, you might find some strings that are buzzing or muted. That's because you may be accidentally hitting a string that you didn't mean to. This is super common, so don't be discouraged. I can go through and check every string to figure out where the problems are. Maybe I'm not pressing down hard enough and I just need to press harder. Maybe I'm muting a string on accident and I need to make sure that I'm not accidentally touching it with another string. So if an open string is muted or buzzing, figure out where you're accidentally touching it, adjust your hand so your fingers come right down on top of only the strings that you're intending to press down without touching any other ones. Once you've gone through each individual string and uncovered your problem, give it another good strum. As always, feel free to pause the video and go back to rewatch anything you need to. Once you feel comfortable strumming that E chord, let's have a little jam session. Just like when we were plucking and strumming earlier, we're gonna strum 4 counts, and then we'll strum one more time and hold for 4 counts, and repeat that a handful of times. The big win in this exercise is that you're holding down all of those strings and your chord is ringing out, every string singing like it's supposed to. And then, if that's happening, then you can focus on making sure you're strumming in time. But I really want you to focus on holding down those strings nice and tight and make sure everything is ringing out like it's supposed to. Let's do it together. Here we go. 1, 2, ready and strum. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3. You got it. Strum. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Hopefully you're feeling it now. Hold. 2, 3, 4, and strum. Do your fingers hurt yet? Keep holding. Here we go. And last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and way to go. Okay, wow, if you are brand new to guitar, your fingers are probably hurting like crazy right now, and I don't want to diminish that. In preparation for teaching these lessons, I tried learning the guitar left-handed so I would remember what it felt like to start from scratch. I remember my fingers hurting when I learned guitar as a kid, but I had forgotten just how badly this can hurt if this is new to you. So I wanted to stop and say, if that's you and your fingers are screaming at you to stop holding down these strings, just know that's totally normal. Keep pushing through, give your fingers some breaks, keep trying. It will get better with time and practice. The key to learning chords is building muscle memory so you can get to a chord quickly. Right now, I'm sure putting your fingers in the right place and holding everything down correctly feels very foreign to you, and it's probably taking a few seconds to get into position. That's totally normal, but there's no way around it. Practicing over and over to build muscle memory is how you learn how to switch chords quickly. One fun way to help build muscle memory is called the wiggle. Each time you get into position and strum your chord, take your hand off the neck and shake it out. Then get back into position again. Doing this makes your muscles kind of forget the shape they were in, like a reset. The more you do this, the faster you'll be able to get your hand in the right spot. Let's try the same strumming exercise from before, but this time we'll wiggle instead of hold. So we'll strum 4 counts, and then we'll wiggle, 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 get back into position, and strum 4 counts. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and strum. 1, 2, 3, 4, and wiggle. Now get back into position. 1, 2, 3, 4, wiggle. Get back. And 1, 2, 3, 4, wiggle. Get back into position. 1, 2, 3, 4, wiggle. You're doing great. Get back. 1, 2, 3, 4, and wiggle. Here we go. Getting back into position. Strum. 2, 3, 4, wiggle. And wiggle. Get back into position. And wiggle. 2, 3, 4, and there you go. Awesome. You're doing great. Remember, feel free at any time to pause and repeat an exercise if you need to. I want to teach you your second chord. It's called the A minor chord, and I think it'll be a little easier this time because this chord is very similar to the E major chord. Here's what it sounds like. Remember what I said about chords eliciting feelings in us? You might notice that the A minor chord has a kind of sad or spooky feel to it. Compare that to the E major chord we just played. That one rings out in a rounder, happier way. Some chords are called major chords, while other chords are called minor chords. Switching between the two is one of the ways that we can create emotion with our music. The happy, round-sounding chords are the major chords, while the sad, spooky-sounding ones are called minor chords. Major and minor. So here's the chord diagram for an A minor chord. At first, it may look really similar to the E major chord. That's because your fingers stay in the exact same position as the E major chord, they all just move down one string. Another difference that you may notice is that there's an X above the low E string instead of a circle. When you see an X like that on a chord diagram, it means you don't play that string because it's not a part of this chord. It can be kind of hard to skip strings like this when you're first starting out, but with some practice, you'll get better at striking the strings in the right place. Alternatively, something that I do that you could try is reaching around the top of the neck and muting that top E string with your thumb like this. That might be challenging at first, but it's a good way to be sure you're not playing any wrong notes. So, starting from the top and working down, we skip the low E string. Then our A string will be open. We put our second finger on the second fret of the D string, our third finger on the second fret of the G string, and lastly, our first finger goes on the first fret of the B string. As you can see, we're playing the exact same chord shape as the E major, but everything has moved down by one string. Remembering to avoid that top E string, let's give it a strum. Don't forget to troubleshoot if it's not sounding quite right. Let's try the same strumming exercise from before. Remember, this will probably hurt your fingers and you may still be having trouble getting into the right finger positions. That's okay. Doing this exercise correctly is simply making sure that you're building that muscle memory as you move in and out of each chord position. Also, pay attention to your strumming and do your best to keep it in time. See if you can go from wiggle to chord position in time to strum right on the downbeat. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and strum. Get ready to wiggle. Wiggle. 2, 3, back into position. Wiggle. 2, 3, here we go. Wiggle. Maybe you just wiggle for a second and then spend more time getting back into position. That's perfectly fine if you need to take the time. 3, 4, and wiggle. 3, 4, and also giving our fingers a break. They might be hurting from holding down those strings. 3, 4, and wiggle. 2, 3, 4, and strum. Wiggle, get back, here we go, and strum. And just like that, you know your first 2 chords on the guitar. Way to go! Remember, if you're having trouble, it's totally normal. Keep practicing your finger placement, keep troubleshooting your chords, keep building muscle memory with the wiggle, and don't give up. You will develop calluses on your fingers and you will build hand strength and dexterity. You can do it.